I'm not getting my skincare routine on point.
Did I do this right?
Mostly. I like to answer questions and comments that you get on YouTube, so let's get to it. Whoa, it just released an hour ago. So this is on a lesson I did on a Billie Eilish song where I just listened to the song once, made the YouTube guitar video tutorial, and posted it right away. And a lot of people seemed impressed that I was able to do that whole thing within an hour of it coming out. I don't see that as impressive because the number one thing that I've gotten a lot better at semi-recently is just being able to learn a song without even listening to the whole thing, right? And I think for beginners that can be like daunting, like how do you even do that? But once you've been doing it for a long time, you realize it's just kind of like a numbers game, right? So again, this is kind of like just coming from busking and like teaching a lot of different songs, just trying to like listen to a piece and then create a facsimile of how that should sound as an acoustic guitar arrangement. And it's actually maybe a little bit easier than you might think, but it comes down to three main parts, okay? You have to diagnose the key it's in, diagnose the progression of the song, and then understand the timing and the rhythm of the song, so like identifying the time signature, I guess. Or even like above and beyond what the time signature is, how those beats and stuff are kind of like cut up, right? So first of all, I think the best thing to do, the best way to practice this is either play along with the song, right? So actually play like something on like your computer or whatever and just try to play along with it, or just try to do this from memory. And I think the best way to do that is really gonna help you out is to just start tracking along with the bass notes. Try to find a bass note riff almost that you can play along with the song. So maybe you're just kind of like hearing something, you're like, and then be like, oh, that third one's wrong. So maybe you kind of like jump around the next time. And then once you have the bass notes, then you can kind of like make the decision, are these the root notes of the chord that is going on, or are these just notes that are in the chord, okay? If you just kind of like try to like hunt and peck for root notes or bass notes, most of the time you'll find that you land on the root note of the chord you're looking for, but almost 100% of the time you end up on a note that is at the very least within the chord. That's how sometimes like on Ultimate Guitar you might look up like a chord chart or something, and one version has like a G major as the chord and another version has E minor as the chord, because again those two chords can be interchangeable. Like E minor is an E, a G, a B, and a G minor or a G major is a G, a B, and a D, right? So they're kind of similar, they can both work in that way, but if you're just kind of hunting and pecking around for the bass note, you might end up on like an E and be like, oh, E minor, when technically it's supposed to be a G major, but essentially either way is going to be a good way to kind of just figure something out on the fly that'll work for now. All right, so, you know, finding those root notes is a good way to start kind of understanding where those chords are, but what's even more important than that is understanding the key that you're in, okay? So I know it can also be daunting to think like, okay, well, how am I supposed to always remember like E, G, and B is E minor and G, B, and D is G major? Well, eventually those just become shapes, all right? So a lot of the videos that I have on this channel are for more of like a shape-based approach to learning songs and just learning the instrument in general, because I just think that for a lot of people that's the best way to kind of like get the pattern recognition and understand the numbers, than just kind of like the numbers game that it turns into, right? So I'm gonna link you to a video on how chords are numbered through a scale in the description below. But essentially what that comes down to is like, all right, let's say that like we've diagnosed it. Like our bass notes are the 7th fret on the A string, the 9th fret on the A string, and the 5th fret on the E string. And it's like, all right, well, what does that mean? All right, well, if it sounds good on that 5th fret on the E string, that A, right? If that A sounds good more often than not, you might be in the key of A. And then to diagnose what chords are in there is a great way to kind of like understand how chords fit into a scale. So if we know that, all right, A is kind of like the tonal center of how this whole thing is reacting, maybe we can go through the A major scale, A, B, C sharp, D, E, F sharp, G sharp, A. All right, and maybe even that could be one step beyond what some people can do. But again, it's just a shape. You don't have to know the notes, you just know it's middle, pinky, index, ring, pinky. Or for the shredders out there, pointer finger, ring, like 5-7-9, 5-7-9, that 3 notes per string thing that we've talked about in the past too. And then eventually all of those notes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, become chords that will be in that song, right? So then it's like, all right, well, all those notes end up sounding good. to whatever it is I'm playing over. So when I have that, I know those are the bass notes, 7A, 9A, 5E. Well, that's the 5th chord in the key of A. I don't even have to know the name of the note, but I can just put a major chord shape on there. And then that becomes the chord structure of everything that I'm working on, right? So again, using that kind of hunting and pecking technique, which anybody can do, you don't have to know anything about chords or scales or anything, to just find notes that won't sound bad when you play along with the song, is very important. But once you start to see how those kind of get organized into the major scale, then you turn those into numbers and turn those into chords, right? So again, the link that I'm gonna have in the description about that lesson, I think is really probably the most important lesson as far as like being able to number chords. Because once you can do that, you can turn everything into numbers, and then be like, oh, that's just a 5, 6, 1. 5, 6, 1, right? Also, I'm using this Journey Instruments travel carbon fiber guitar because we are on the road right now. So this thing actually collapses down into a backpack. I'm gonna do another video on that, talking about why we're on the road coming up, so stay tuned for that. But yeah, so that's basically two parts of learning a song on the fly without even having to listen to the whole thing. And then diagnosing the rhythm, okay? So usually if there's a drum track in the song, that's gonna be your best friend in understanding how that song is counted. And again, there are so many different levels to this. We're talking more of like, you know, if somebody requests a song. We haven't gotten a lot of Tool requests out on the road yet, so having to diagnose like a Danny Carey drum track might be a little more difficult, but usually you can be like, all right, you know, if the kick is on, if you're like a kick, 2, snare, 4, kick, kick, snare, 4, kick, 2, snare, 4, kick, kick, snare, 4, something like that where you can count in 4 clearly, then you just have to find a way to incorporate that rhythm onto whatever chord you're doing. Like that A major chord that we had, right? Like a 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Right? You can see the kick is like the lower part of the guitar. 1, 2, 3. Then the snare is the full-on hit, but it's always steady. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Every song has an internal pulse. And it may be hard to identify at first, but the more times you do that, whether it's just playing with your hands, the more easy it becomes to translate that to a guitar. The 2 main time signatures that you'll run into are 4/4, something like that, or 3/4, where it's like kick 2, 3, kick 2, 3, kick 2, 3. Right, so that would be like a waltz, okay? Now sometimes waltzes are a little trickier to determine because they can be in 3, they can be in 6, depending on how you count it. Sometimes it may seem like it's in 6, but it's really in 4. One example of that would be like a 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. Something like that is still in 4, but it's being counted as 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. And again, it's not so much about diagnosing the time signature right off the bat, it's finding a way to get the groove translated onto the guitar. And that's where playing dynamically is really helpful. Kind of like what I talked about, just hitting the lower strings, right, as the bass note, maybe hitting the whole chord as the snare, but always keeping it steady. I think really palm muting is a great way to kind of deaden the strings in a way that doesn't make it seem like you're being too busy, but always keeping the time. Right, so you know, if you've seen my playing acoustically or any of like the shows that we've been doing, usually my right hand will be fairly active, even if it doesn't sound like I'm playing a lot of notes, just because it's holding down the rhythm. And a lot of that is just from diagnosing the rhythm, okay? So again, you know, it's a skill you develop over time because your ears get better at just diagnosing the intervals between those notes, but like I said, understanding what key you're in, how to translate that key into numbers where you can determine all the main chords that go into it, and then diagnosing the rhythm, okay? Then you can get into like higher level questions like, do I anticipate this song having a bridge or not? Now most modern pop songs never have anything that changes. It's always just the same 3 or 4 chords over and over again. But again, like I said, there's different levels to it, but I think it all starts there. So try to work on that stuff. I've been subscribed to this YouTube channel for some time now, and Sean, your capacity for surprising your viewers seems bottomless. Today's example, a new song inspired by a guitar effects pedal, is extraordinarily beautiful. Thank you and Andrea so much for sharing it with us. Andrea, what song are they talking about there?
Hello, Sean and the people at home. They're talking about our new song called Moonpool, which is about the Pigtronics Moonpool pedal, which is a tremolo.
Yeah, tremolo / phaser pedal.
Thank you. It was a really good one.
Second time we've done this where we took a guitar effects pedal. They like a company that I work with, Pigtronics, you know, they kind of send a pedal over and we just try to figure out a way to demo it that isn't boring. So we did this with the Walrus Audio Juliana pedal. We wrote a banger of a song called Juliana for that.
It is our most streamed
This one,
song.
yeah, and this one, Moonpool, I really love the way the Moonpool turned out.
As do I. It's very dreamy.
Yeah, so you know, definitely help us out by streaming that. That'd be pretty cool.
The links should be below.
I think the links are below.
Yes.
You notice how she says should be? Like, are you going to screw this up, Sean? Are you going to somehow post this video without
Precisely.
linking anything? Do I just
I'll
have
be
to assume?
editing
Just to make sure it gets done properly. She's going to be in charge. Great lesson, Sean. Have you ever considered doing tutorials on all of your original songs? Yeah, I think a lot of people have actually asked me this. At first I was like, do I really want to bother people with tutorials on the original songs? But I have posted one to the Patreon. So again, these are all going to be on Patreon. Really sorry about it. But like if I just posted original song tutorials on YouTube, no one would watch it and it would just tank my entire channel generally. So I'm going to start posting more of them to the Patreon because they are, if nothing else, I think I make interesting guitar stuff. I interest myself in my guitar. Oh, you agree?
I have a question. I mean,
go
a
ahead.
statement.
Yeah, go ahead.
So basically, I have been spending a lot of time learning our songs, and I feel like it has just made me a lot better as a guitar player because Sean challenges you with every
This
song
testimonial was
he creates.
unrehearsed
It
and
was, I'm just
unanticipated.
saying,
Wow.
Because whenever I practice, I usually default to one of Sean's songs or one of our songs, and that's convenient because we play them, and also because they're just good songs to learn. So you can, I don't know, challenge yourself.
Thank you. So I will be posting more of those on the Patreon, so stay tuned for that. Because it's also a good excuse to talk about songwriting in general. You know, I almost feel like kind of opposed to making like how to write song videos on like YouTube, because I'm not like wildly super
Successful.
popular in the songwriting realm, even though obviously these are the best songs ever written. But I think like on Patreon, it's definitely more of like a, you know, I can talk more about what I was thinking. And I feel like people who might be more inclined to do Patreon might be more interested in it. Is he on heroin or just stoned? The answer is yes. No.
What are we supposed to say about that one?
I feel like I don't know, I've never been on heroin or stoned. I do feel like if I were on heroin, I would have a hard time making as many YouTube videos as I make.
No, if he was stoned, why would he even bother?
Yeah, well, even stoned, you can have a high creative output if you're stoned, allegedly. But heroin seems to be kind of like, I think it would be hard to work a lot while also being on heroin. But I could just be totally, I could be totally ignorant on this. So all these heroin business power users out there, feel free to comment in the comments. For listening homework, New Hiatus Coyote, one of my absolute favorite albums of all time, Choose Your Weapon. It's been a minute since that one dropped, so I'm stoked that they're coming out with some new music, so definitely check that out in the description below. Thank you to Journey Instruments for giving me this guitar to kind of travel with. Again, this is, I don't know, I guess I'm using it for this video, so I don't know, is this video sponsored by Journey? Probably no. I don't know how the disclosure for that works. Every single time. I'm confused. We'll just say they're all sponsored because of music, but there are travel vlogs coming.
Yeah.
So let us know what you want to see in a travel vlog.
What? Tell us, if you're in California, tell us a place that we should go.
Yeah, and stay tuned, and then go stream Moonpool because it's great. Anything else you want to add?
That's all.
How's my skin looking? How's the skincare?
The skincare was my
Been able to
help.
tell? Have you been able to tell
No.
the difference?
But I don't really look at you that intensely ever.
Yeah, it's okay. Well, anyways, thanks
Thanks so much for watching, guys.